Howdy everyone, welcome to Mental Health Perspectives, where we dive into the science, psychology, and everything in between. I'm your host Keely. And I'm Nicole. Today we're tackling the medical model. We'll explore its strengths, limitations, and connections to fascinating concepts like neuroscience, behaviorism, and attachment theory. So grab a coffee, settle in, and let's get into it. Let's start with the basics, Nicole. What exactly is the medical model? Great question, Keely. The medical model is basically just a framework that is used to diagnose and treat mental health conditions. It views psychological disorders as diseases with biological causes, symptoms, and standardized treatments. Right, and it relies on tools like the DSM-5, which provide consistent guidelines for diagnosing disorders. For example, let's take depression. SSRIs are used to treat neurotransmitter imbalances like serotonin. Speaking of neurotransmitters, neuroscience plays a huge role here. The medical model gives us biological explanations for conditions, like how serotonin and dopamine imbalances are linked to anxiety and depression. The biological focus has led to very effective treatments. Absolutely, and let's not forget about behavioral therapies. For example, operant conditioning uses reward systems to help people with OCD develop healthier habits. These treatments are rooted in conditioning and are highly effective. And another strength, standardization. The medical model ensures consistent diagnosing across practitioners. This can really be a game changer for people seeking help. But Nicole, let's not sugarcoat it. The medical model isn't perfect. One major flaw is over-medication, prescribing drugs to feelings that may not actually need treatment at all. Functionalism reminds us that some level of anxiety actually helps us, motivates us to study for an exam. Exactly, and then there's the issue of cultural and environmental factors. The medical model often overlooks how cultural norms shape mental health. For example, in collectivist cultures, mental health may be expressed differently than in individualist cultures. And speaking of narrow focus, the medical model tends to put too much emphasis on biology and tends to overlook the impact that memory, attachment, and environmental influences have on people. This is where theories like attachment come in. Early attachment experiences could shape our coping mechanisms as adults. For instance, secure attachment often leads to healthier emotional regulation, while insecure attachment can have its lasting effects. And developmental psychology adds another layer. Mental health issues can stem from unresolved developmental stages like low self-esteem in childhood that persists into adulthood. So how do we address these limitations? By combining the medical model with other approaches. For example, integrating cultural awareness into care can make a huge difference, especially in underserved communities like rural areas. And tailoring treatment plans to include cognitive, behavioral, and even cultural perspectives ensures a more holistic care. To wrap up, the medical model has its strengths like standardized treatment and a solid biological foundation, but it's not without its flaws, especially when it comes to over-medication and cultural blindness. By including it with other approaches like attachment theory, developmental psychology, and cultural sensitivity, we can create a more inclusive and effective mental health system. Thanks for tuning in to Mental Health Perspectives. Don't forget to subscribe and join us next time for another deep dive into the world of psychology. See you then.